So yes, I would hope that enough of us have been to Sunday school often enough to have learned about Jacob's ladder. But what you might not have learned, and you know the song, right? We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing Jacob's ladder, bearers of the cross. You know that from Sunday school, some of you. Well, what I found out more recently is that actually since the early Hebrew tribes had been wandering around in what is known to us as Mesopotamia, that it really wasn't a ladder that Jacob was dreaming about. He was actually dreaming about a ziggurat. For the ziggurat was the temple structure in Mesopotamia back in the 2000 BC era. It wasn't quite a pyramid, and it didn't have a ladder, but it had these staircases that often would, zigzag, that's where we get the word from, back and forth. And so I guess that when they wrote the song, it didn't quite sound right. We are climbing Jacob's ziggurat. So they made it a ladder. But the point I want to make is, as was said in the preface to the lecture, to the Bible reading, there are many stories in the Bible where someone has a dream or has an experience, and out of that dream they declare a new name for that place, and that becomes the biblical name. And so it is most famously with this place here, when Jacob was actually running away, because we talked about how Jacob had tricked his brother out of his birthright. And that's something, when you do something wrong, that guilty conscience nags you long through your life. And that was Jacob's experience. He was running from what he had done to his brother for most of his life. And so he's running away because he didn't want to confront him, and he stopped to rest on his way to find a wife in the far-off land. And he took a stone, laid it there for his pillow, and he went to sleep. And there he had his dream of being in the presence of the divine. And he described that dream as best he could to others, but he said, surely this access point in the universe, it seemed to him, this is the place where we can find that portal to the divine. And so he said, I'm going to remember this place. I'm going to mark this place. And he took that stone and made an altar out of it. We've often talked about what it means to anoint. That's, in the text, it says he poured oil on the stone. That's that simple act of anointing. And that was the way in the ancient Near East that you made something holy or sacred. You anointed it with oil. And so there he set it up, I guess so that he could remember where he met God. He needed a mile marker or something. Yes, so that he could come back to that place and meet God. Well, I want to speak briefly this morning because I know the FIFA final is in a few minutes. Some of us are weeping for France. But I want to talk about holy places and sacred spaces. Too often in our culture, holy places are places you can't go. We mark them off as sacred. We mark them off as holy. And by definition, it's kind of a negative space. It's reserved for only God's presence. And therefore, only special people with special training or special ordination, put upon them. And these exclusive spaces we mark off as holy places. Some of you will have recently visited the Mormon temple here in La Jolla, and they open it very briefly, usually before it is made sacred or made holy. You can visit it before that moment, and I guess this was a renovation or some moment when they could allow people to come in and take a peek. But otherwise, holy places are always shrouded in mystery. And in some ways, they get their power from the fact that you don't know what's in there. And that mystique becomes very powerful. But too often, holy places are places that we can't go, or most people can't go. You know, another one of those holy places is the pulpit. Some of you who are Catholic, and some of you who might have been raised Baptist or other religious traditions, you will know that the pulpit was a place that only men could go. Women could not enter the pulpit. In some places, women can't even step on the chancel because it's holy. It's a holy place. You can't come. And I wasn't raised in that tradition. I was raised in the United Methodist tradition. And even when I went to the African Methodist Episcopal Church, they had no prohibition against women. Women had been ordained in the AME Church for hundreds of years, or 100 years. And even they opened finally the office of bishop to women. But for most of us, we know church as a place that women are not full members and do not have access to the holy places. And so I don't mean to pick on my Catholics. That's why I say the Baptists are just the same. In fact, I think it was, let me check my watch or my calendar, because this is 2026, right? The Southern Baptist Church in their convention found it necessary one more time to declare women cannot be ordained. And they went to the extreme action of expelling congregations who, in their Baptist freedom, just like we are congregational, we can do what we want. The conference can say something, but we don't have to do it. The national setting can say something, we don't have to do it. So are Baptists. But they expelled those congregations that allowed women to be part of the leadership of the church. And I say again, because this isn't the first time. I remember probably in 1999, just 2000, when I was writing for the Los Angeles Times, I wrote about the Southern Baptist Convention, which once again reiterated that wives should obey their husbands. And I'm like, is this 2000, really? So there are forces that are still trying to make holy places exclusive, not available to everyone. It looks like I'm not getting all of my slides. And they're not showing up here on just the next one after this, if you could put it up. Yes, thank you. Now it popped up. Okay, sorry about that. And so this is another holy place. This is the Kaaba, or the Cube, in Saudi Arabia, where 1 million Muslims typically will gather there for their Hajj, their pilgrimage in Mecca. And they make 7 circuits around this holy place. But guess what? They don't go inside. It is a holy place that you can come and you can look at, and you can recognize it as that holy space that, oh, there's something really special must be going on in there. I'll never know what it is, but that's what they tell me. But it is actually a very moving experience if you've seen any videos of the Hajj. And every Muslim has the obligation of making Hajj at least once in their lifetime, no matter where they live in the world, if they can afford it and if they are able physically, because it's a pretty arduous experience. It's over a period of 5 or 7 days and many miles that they have to walk before they get to the Kaaba to make their 7 circuits. So that's another holy place. And we also have another holy place. I've not been to Mecca, but I have been to Jerusalem. And here is the western wall of the Temple Mount. And there, faithful Jews of every denomination and description will gather there and pray. And how many of you have been to the Western Wall? And how many of you put your prayer in the wall? And so they have this tradition that you can write a prayer on a small piece of paper and you can put it into one of the cracks of the mortar, of the stones that are in the Western Wall. And I don't know who comes to read those, but I guess they take them and send them to God. But it's a very special experience for those of that faith. And for those of any faith, you can recognize the power of this holy place. And so then there is another holy place that's not very far from this one. And if you look in the upper left-hand corner of this image, you will see the Dome of the Rock, which is another Muslim holy place. And in the Dome of the Rock, they believe that is where Muhammad received the word, that Abraham ascended into heaven from that spot. And they built, again, they put a stone there and built a temple over it. But that one is actually quite accessible for those who desire to go. I had the opportunity on one of my journeys to Jerusalem to go into the Dome of the Rock. But it brings me now to another point. Many of these holy places become places of conflict. Next slide. And in this holy land, we have conflict, especially when 2 faiths claim the same space. And when we have these kinds of conflicts, and especially there in Jerusalem, which was originally intended to be an international and an interfaith city, when they created the modern state of Israel, Jerusalem was to be accessible and available to all people internationally and all people of all faiths. But as we know, that history has not been a pleasant nor a peaceful one. Even today, the war in Iran is still having to deal with, or has much of its genesis around the formation of the State of Israel. And they continue to fight that battle. That is, they cannot accept someone that doesn't belong in their holy place. Holy places tend to exclude, tend to deny access. And Muslims there are also claiming the same spot. Now, it's interesting that the most orthodox of the Jewish faith will not go on what is the Temple Mount. And this Temple Mount, as an archaeological site, is believed to be where the great temple of Herod, the temple of Herod the Great, was built on that place. And within the temple complex, there was this very, very sacred place called the Holy of Holies. And it's not enough that it's holy, it's got to be holy, holy. And in the Jewish faith, only the high priest at certain times, once at Yom Kippur, another time during the Holy Year, would actually be able to enter into the Holy of Holies to offer prayers for the people, another negative place. But the tragedies that have emanated from that conflict continue to reverberate around the world today. We know that the political response, and I think it's important that we make the distinction between the political response and the spiritual response. The political response has been tragic. October 7th, the massacre of partygoers and innocents who lived next to the border with Gaza, brutally killed and maimed and in so many ways violated. But the response of the Israeli government has been disproportionate to the max. I've not recently read, but there were 1,400 who were killed in the October 7th assault, and now probably 80,000 Gazans have been killed, men, women, children. The territory of Gaza has been razed to the ground. 85% of the structures in the territory of Gaza have either been demolished or damaged. And they've been demolished and damaged by the weapons we manufacture here in the United States and are paid for with our tax dollars. It must end. It must stop. And we have a role in this war. And we need to exercise our influence, our power, and our responsibility to save the lives of the Gazans who are simply being mowed down and destroyed. There's no plan for peace. And please understand, we must maintain the distinction between our critique of the Israeli government, which is a political entity, and the people of the Jewish faith. Every poll in the United States shows that the people of the Jewish faith within the United States are adamantly against what the prime minister and the government in current power is doing in Gaza and in the West Bank. So we cannot allow those who want to put a spiritual shield around their political ambitions to equate critique of the Israeli government with anti-Semitism, which is a hatred of Jews. We cannot allow that equation to hold. Holy places tend to exclude. Holy places tend to breed conflict. But sacred spaces are accessible to all. Sacred spaces welcome and invite. Sacred spaces allow anyone and everyone, and guess what else? At any time, to enter a sacred space. Because where is the sacred space? It is not on the map. The most sacred space that we have is in the human heart. And it is from this sacred space that we can and will heal the world. It is from this sacred space that we can bring peace to Palestine and the sacred spaces where Jesus walked. It is from this heart that we can feed those who are starving to death on a planet that has plenty of food. It is from this sacred space that we can answer the call that we hear when we read the words of Jesus of Nazareth. It is from this sacred space that we can answer God's call on our lives and God's call on this church. So this building, as beautiful as it is, yes, it is our holy place, But we open the doors to this holy place. We welcome all into this holy place. And everything we do and every act and every commitment we make is to broadening and opening the holy place that we call Pilgrim to the world. But the sacred space will always be in your heart. Jacob thought he had found the access point to the divine. But the psalmist always knew better. From this week's lectionary, Psalm 139, verses 7 through 12, I share with you as I close. Where can I go from your spirit? Or where can I flee from your presence? If I ascend to heaven, on Jacob's ladder, if I ascend to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in Sheol, you are there. If I take the wings of the morning and settle at the farthest limits of the sea, even there your hand shall lead me and your right hand shall hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me and night wraps itself around me, even the darkness is not dark to you. The night is as bright as the day, for darkness is as light to you. And so I pray that everyone finds that sacred space, and especially those who have found only darkness in the mental illness of their minds, that they would hear this word, that even the darkness is light to God. Let the people of God say, amen.